If you're looking for the best clothing deals in Salt Lake County, one place stands out for the price, quality, and the selection, and that's Zalzo. Zalzo is your destination for up to 70% off premium and mid-luxury brands every single day. Tucked just off of 3900 South in Murray, Zalzo carries the brands you actually want to wear at the prices you're happy to pay. Run over to our store today and see for yourself the weekly updates to the always impressive and expansive inventory of both adult and children's clothing. While you're here, don't forget to check out the weekly markdown racks with even steeper deals. Stuck on a work call? Go to Zalzo.com, that's ZALLZO.com for information and a listing of in-store deals. Zalzo, you'll come in just to look, but we know you'll leave hooked.
As our coach said, it's going to be a dogfight, but we are ready for that, and it's 90 minutes, we need to give everything, so yeah, we need to be locked in.
At the end of the day, the fans would see it, you know. We've been trying to represent them on the pitch, and we are going to give our 100% every single game for them. And
can't wait to get back and put on, the RSL jersey and in front of the fans that have been amazing support. Without them, without RSL, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, so I'm extremely grateful and I'm excited.
What's up, RSL Nation?
Welcome to the Royal Riot.
Salvas gets it away. Catranes, the square ball. Diego Luna! It's Diego Luna now trying to turn. Luna! Oh, it's in! What a goal! A lot of space for Johnny Russell. Johnny Russell! His first start for Real Salt Lake. His first goal for Real Salt Lake. One hole! Magnificent from Real Salt Lake. And Noel Kaliskan with the best goal he's probably ever scored.
Oh, turns, overlap on the right side. Gonzalez! Yes!
Brian Ojeda. Here's a gun out, third time. Is it a charm? Malagon! Luna! Yeah! Cabral has been insatiable in goal. Zuniga now! Cabral, the hero! Man, this guy's good! They have found a keeper in Salt Lake City!
Okay, welcome in Royal Riot. It is me again, not Hayden Nelson. So you guys are getting, the crime
An
guy,
upgrade.
the upgrade, so to speak. I always say that. I kind of know my stuff. No, Hayden, no shots to you. He's getting over a little bit of a cold. He says that. I bet it's because he took off work and now he's really trying to play it off. Maybe some of his coworkers listen to this, but yeah, we're with Maddie. Maddie, how you doing today?
Loving it. Always happy to be back in a room with Tyler.
Sounds good. And of course, we have Tyler. Tyler, how you doing? You've been probably pretty busy these last couple of days.
Yeah, it's always a good day. Kit launch day is one of our favorite days of the year. It's a lot, 2 years worth of work. And then every once in a while you get lucky. And other people outside of this room like it, and so it's cool to see the world get to see what we've been working on behind the scenes, and ultimately get a lot of good positive reaction. It's well worth it, my friend.
Awesome.
Seems like every year, the new kit drops and you get about 30 seconds for the internet to decide whether it's cult classic, iconic, or a crime against humanity, and everyone who was involved should be yeeted into the sun. What has been early returns? We know that every year the kit leaks. This year, I don't want to throw rocks at BYU, but I think they're the ones who posted it.
Technically, I think it leaked in November. I think December is when the first initial leak from Footy Headlines came across. So, all of our, Brock's Closet kind of folks who have really been scouring the internet, they've They've had some hints and some, I guess you could say, really, really close breadcrumbs for a long time now. And then, yeah, there was maybe a planned incident down south that we may or may not have had something to do with our friends down there.
When you start with a new kit, where does it start? Is it a blank page? Is it Adidas sending you some prompts, or how does it go?
I've had a layout of a plan for about 8 to 12 jerseys. It's kind of expanded. I had a really rock solid ideas for like 6 that I had fleshed out over my time here, where if I was ever like, hey, if I ever got the opportunity to be in the hot seat, this is kind of how I would like to do it, and the story behind it all. And you guys have seen a few of them. So that's where it all started. But the process really begins when Adidas, sends out their playbook. And then ultimately that's kind of how they put together everything across the globe, is what they call the Adidas playbook. And then they modify it based off of their relationships and their different teams, federations and clubs throughout the globe and all that kind of stuff, where, Bayern and Arsenal may have a few more bells and whistles and a few more teammates than we do, but at the same time, it's still the same playbook. And so really this is 2 years of work behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun because I'm actually working on 2028 right now. And so like my mind has been on this new version of the primary kit and kind of the whole storyline and flushing it out from that perspective. And so when this comes back around, you're reminded of everything. And so it's been really fun to revisit kind of the core principles that we had built this all on, why we decided to do a few things, and then ultimately kind of roll things out the way that we did today.
Was there any feedback from Adidas about this new kit throughout this process?
Oh, the feedback that I would say we got from Adidas has been really, really positive, and it's a really good, healthy working relationship, because there's been a proof of concept of what we're trying to do, and then ultimately the fans and the sales have bought into it. And so the more success you get, the more they buy into what you're trying to do, because they know that what you're making is for your fans. I think I've told you guys many times, is like, I'm not making fans for, Nashville SC folks. I'm not making kits for Philadelphia Union fans or New York Red Bull fans. I'm making kits for people that call the state of Utah home and that are RSL fans. And so that's kind of where our idea of cult classic kits with the hyper localized Utah twist stems from. And so when you look at our lineage of kits and then what's to come this summer, there's a very clear and distinct feel that we have. And it's something that Adidas is proud of, and ultimately we're proud of, because there's, a handful of teams, when you turn on the TV, you go, that's who's playing, and we're one of them. And that's something that we're very proudful of. It's something I take with a lot of pride. And, and I think that they understand that we've identified what we're trying to do in our primaries versus our secondaries, and they're all on board.
I know that the Grid City kit was one that you had an intense personal relationship with, and one that I have talked about ad nauseum to all of my friends who are not RSL fans, because they like the kit. And I'm like, no, wait, let me show you the grid system and explain to you what it is. And it may or may not have almost caused me to get in a fight at MLS Cup final last year. I'm not saying that it was all the jersey. It was somebody who had some smack to talk about RSL, and he picked the wrong moment. What story were you telling with this kit, brother?
Well, one, it's hard to, top the Grid City. It won us an Emmy, right? So we had a tall tale and something to follow through on. And ultimately it's been our most popular kit of all time by far. And we've sold out the last 2 of them, right? So we're on a bit of a hot streak, and the reception so far has been great. I can't wait to see what the numbers are to this initial launch, and then ultimately through the rest of the year. From a primary perspective, what I've been trying to do with the RSL kits are really lean into what I think is kind of Utah's calling card, and, what makes Utahns. And so I've been leaning into the identity and the PQ top, and then also the switchback of the evolution of our gold, one pushing that forward, and then the red and blue. If you look at basically the 4 kits plus the next one in the summer, nobody ever has played with patterns in my position before. And so that's where I started with was the beehive pattern. And then I got really symbolic with the mountain on the Peak Utah, and you just like physically drawing it as you're wearing it right there. You look great, Maddie. And then you mentioned the grid system and the squares. And then now here's the hoops. And the hoops is something that's very classic, very traditional. Some people have their calling card depending on where you're at in the world. And for us, I was trying to say, well, if we're going to do hoops, how are we going to do it our way? And so there's actually two things that Adidas and I went back and forth. And one that was a more traditional hoops, and one was a more modern. And ultimately, I landed with the kind of a classic old school hoops with a modern kind of twist on, imprinting the Wasatch Mountain Range in the red of the pattern to make it our own. And for me, if the one thing that defines Utah, because it runs from the bottom of the state through the top of the state, are mountains. They look different, they're colored different, but at the same time, they really do dictate and shape everywhere where we live because it dictates our water flow, right? And so, and it's quite amazing that it literally runs from the bottom, St. George, all the way through Bear Lake up to the top. And so to me, that screams Utah. And so much like Peak Utah instituted the mountain shape in some way, shape, or form, this is just a different incarnation. And so for as long as I get to do it, the idea from a primary is to kind of lean into our colors and then display mountains in some sort of unique pattern in some unique symbolic way. And that's that was the theory and the idea for today. And then we're workshopping and moving forward, down the line about what this place is and how we're evolving around here.
Can I ask one follow-up before David goes? For those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit more about the Emmy?
Hey, we won one. We got one. We put ourselves up against our contemporary folks and competition, which is the Rocky Mountain area. Basically, it's a real Emmy, like the ones that you see on TV for the regions throughout the country. Basically, the Academy has different sections, and it honors professionals in the TV space and all the different types of categories that you would see in the normal Emmys, just kind of more regionalized. And it's our state, Arizona, it's New Mexico, it's the Wyoming. It's basically called the Rocky Mountain kind of region. And we went up against the Big 12. We went against the Phoenix Suns, University of Arizona. I think Phoenix Suns had 2 and Arizona Cardinals had 1. And we were the only soccer team that were nominated, and we ended up taking the category in the promotional sports division, which was very surreal, very cool. Laura and I couldn't feel our feet for, 3 to 7 minutes. I've got it we just actually moved out of the stadium. And so I had to pack up my office because there's some fun renovations going on right now. And so I'm actually staring at it. It's right here in my, on top of my microwave, actually. Very, very, very prestigious. But it's surreal. It's cool. It's one of those things that I started out in TV. I was like, I'm going to get an Emmy as a 21-year-old junior, getting my first time job on TV, but going to school. And to accomplish it 15 some odd years down the line is, it was a really cool, special moment. One of those things they can never take away from you. But, incredibly proud and honored to have done it at RSL.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. And, just don't turn the microwave on high. That's probably not a great idea. But you mentioned this a little bit with the hoops. Were there any other kits from other soccer teams, because it is a global sport, that inspired you in parts of this kit? Because I do say I think it is unique, but I think a lot of people, look and pick from maybe what they're looking at. But any other kits that inspired you while making this?
No, look, I think I mention it all the time. Our colors are red and blue. So, I know that there's a really famous club in Spain that is also red and blue, and they've made, I think, 100+ years of jerseys. And so every once in a while, because maybe the greatest player of all time wore their jersey during a certain era that became very popular, that people connect us with that club over there. And I'll put it this way. Yeah. Every time I make a kit, I look over there to see what they're doing because I try to make the exact opposite of what what they're actually currently wearing, because I don't want that connection. And ultimately, I don't think we come close because they're a Nike brand and they have some very distinct styles over on that side of the street. But the way that I was looking at this was just kind of what I've described. There's a lot of different people that wear hoops in our league and outside of our league. And the version that I pushed Adidas on was one that was really super progressive and one that was more classic. And that's kind of how our working relationship is where we push each other, and ultimately it depends on what kind of thing we come up with. That sometimes I lean progressive and sometimes I lean the more traditional look. And I think this kind of primary kit for me is a little bit more on the traditional side, which is okay because we've never had a traditional kit like this in our club's history. And I think that was part of why I felt comfortable doing that. Also, with the new kind of twist on it, it just felt ours. Like it felt like our own version of it. And so nobody in particular, definitely some bits and pieces from just seeing different things around the world. But if you're trying to get me to ask about that one club in Spain, I do pay attention to what they're doing, but I really try to actually do the exact opposite.
Greatest of all time. I didn't realize that Javi Mo had played down there. I guess I didn't pay too much attention before you got to us.
Yeah. I love me the maestro.
I'm packing for a move myself, and the t-shirt that I have t-shirts that I just have stacked, and I'll just grab whatever's on top. And then I've got t-shirts in a drawer so that dust never touches them, sunlight never hits them, and I wear them on special occasions. I've got one from the 2009 All-Star game with KB5 and Javi Mo. Long sleeve, baby. I'll show it to you when I get there. What would you say is... Sorry?
We've found a couple random gems from the 2009 days and cleaning up the stadium in the last few little bits. So that's a good shout right there.
Oh, I bet. For you, what would you say is either the best RSL kit ever or the most underrated RSL kit?
I honestly think the best RSL kit will be released in the summer, and I don't think it's anywhere close. I think when people see it, pretty much the genuine reaction to everybody is that. And it'll go sell like hotcakes, and I think it'll be one that people are really stoked on. And it's going to be one of those standout things. For me, the ones that I've made, Grid City's probably the closest, most personal one. Peak Utah, just because it was my first primary. Beehive, because it was my first. It's kind of hard to pick your favorite because it's your kids, but Grid City, if I had to, would probably be my favorite of ones we've done so far outside of what's coming this summer. From the ones that I have not made myself, I had Adidas send me an article from a kit collector where they said one of the top 10 jerseys of all time is the original RSL red kit with the yellow touch. I've got the article still saved on my phone because it was part of some long-term inspiration I was looking at. So that one gets a lot of love with the Eddie Pope jersey is what I call it when they're the original OG. So that one gets a lot of love. My buddy's in the team store. Shout out Nico. He loves the one sleeves. He's always been trying to bring that back. Let us own that thing. Let it be a thing. I'm not a huge fan of the one sleeves, but I do appreciate the uniqueness. And so I know that's a lot of love. And then, but of like the most modern contemporary ones that I did enjoy, I want to think it was like 2016, maybe 17, 18, red blue sleeve primary jersey, the RSL one. I like that one. I thought Bridget did a good job with the supporter secondary in like 2020. I think that was that jersey. There's a few good ones out there that I really enjoy, but I've stared at these jerseys. You got Maddie in the back room, we have all those jerseys. And so I've been staring at them all for so long. And that's why I have all these ideas, because I've seen what we've done and what we haven't. And so there's more stuff to come. We'll put it that way.
I don't remember exactly what was going on other than we were at the stadium. It might've been the ownership press conference when you pulled me down to your office and showed me the kit that's coming out this summer and literally stopped me in my tracks. And, I had tears in my eyes. I cannot wait for everyone to see this thing. But man, that one blows it out of the water. you're right. That one's going to take the country by storm.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I've wanted to do something in this realm, but we'll talk about it when it comes out and why people will understand maybe why it's taken so long for this thing to debut. Because you'd have to sacrifice something else for it, and so I'm really stoked on it. I think it's fun, and it really ties not only this jersey to everything, but I'll put it this way: when you put all three jerseys next to each other, it's easily the best lineup of kits our club's ever had in a given season. I'll put it
there
out.
You go. Yes.
So cool.
Yes, King.
Well, I do know that, creating a kit, it's a collaborative process. And so, of course, I thank you, Tyler, because honestly, I've loved the kits in recent years. And the only thing that makes me upset is I have to buy like so many because I watch, RSL games with, my family. And this is the only one when the Beehive kit was out and they were wearing that. My mother-in-law, who doesn't like football because her entire family's too obsessed with football, was just like, I don't really like wearing jerseys, but I will wear that jersey. That is the coolest jersey I've ever seen. And so I had to buy her one, and then I had to buy my wife one, and it became a whole mess with my credit card statement. But I will say, who do we have to thank for this beautiful kit, other than yourself, your collaborative team, or people in that process?
Well, there's so many people. There's so many good people. Court, Mark, Keeks, Laura, Mandy, Stace, Kyle, like the list goes on. That's the one beautiful thing about this place that I had to, call home at the club is the talent is just so abundant and so plentiful that, even a dumb guy like me who gets lucky every now and again because I'm surrounded by so many good people. And so, you come down to the stadium and there's a buzz because of just how intelligent, happy, and how much enjoyment this job brings a lot of us just to tell these stories. And we take our job seriously, but we try to not take ourselves too seriously. I think that's a nice fine balance because, we understand that this club means a lot to a lot of people and we want to just do it right, do justice by telling the stories and presenting ourselves as the best possible grown-up, professional, suited place and department each and every time that we step out because we understand that we represent the club too at a different level. So, all the wonderful folks that I get to call my teammates, I shouted pretty much all of them out, but, Luis, Jason, Matt, Dom, all those guys had a taste of it. Linz, Kenny G, everybody. There's a lot of folks that put a lot of time, effort, energy into this product and has kind of steered the ship at one point or another.
I love the design detail you were telling us before we turned the mics on, that the middle hoop, the mountain range that's on it, is the view from the stadium of the Wasatch Front, which is incredible. And I just am beside myself waiting to see it live. If you could start, this will be the last one for me. I know we got to get you back to your family. If you could start not on the Adidas playbook, but completely blank slate and create your own jersey from scratch, what would you start with? What are your themes that are important to you?
To me, when you're representing a brand, because I always call RSL public company. We are private owners, but we're a publicly owned company because if it wasn't for our fans, there would be no rhyme or reason and we wouldn't be here. And we know what the sport's like without fans and without their energy and without their support because we played in the pandemic. And that was a totally different feel and vibe. So that's why I always joke that we're a public facing company. That's why the brand itself is, good people who are good for the community, who happen to be good at soccer, because we can control those first two things, right? And winning comes and goes, but being a community asset is forever. And so I would, scrap it and look at what makes Utah, Utah. And then I would start there. And it's kind of always been my idea. And then you build out from there. So you'd make a list of what I think is relatable, iconic, recognizable in Utah. And then I just start plugging and playing from there and building out, as I like to call it, like a playbook where you can see and feel what somebody's trying to do. And so it's weird because I know that very few people are ever going to lay out X amount of kits in front of me and you can be able to see the evolution of where we're going. But like, it's ultimately what I've tried to do is, and when I put this kit in the summer next to the kits before it, next to the kit that's coming next year, it all ties together in colors, it all ties together in stories, and it all ties together with kind of a harmonious kind of love letter back to the state that we get to call home. Because, Maddie, you mentioned the details of the grid, and you mentioned the details of, it's quite literally the outline of the Wasatch from AFS viewpoint. That's the middle hoop. And so, like, why I do details that are so, I guess, specific and important is because, well, this place is so specific and important to me and to a whole heap of people. And I know that if I put the time, effort, and love and care into it, that the people that love this place for what it is will appreciate it that much more. Or at least that's the hope. And so, it's a long answer, but it's kind of the way that I look at how we're doing our kits nowadays and how I would pretty much model a similar type of playbook now that I know a little bit what I'm doing. More so than I did say.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. It's a beautiful kit, and I urge all our listeners to head over to the team store and look at rsl.com. They always do a great infographic and that breaks down all the pieces of our new kits. So go over there and check it out. But overall, Tyler, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to meet with us and answering some of our questions. We're excited for the summer. You made me die for the summer kit already. So I'm already, planning on it.
Book my spot in August. We're looking at when the guys come back to play. That's when the jerseys are supposed to be ready. So that's for timing of everybody. Look for it in August.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Thanks again for coming on, Tyler. Can't wait to get my arms around you.
Yeah. Thank
See
you
you
so
guys.
much. Great episode.